Deshaun taking QB1 and Shedeur maybe as a backup and the offense cooking perhaps.
Look, I feel, and you know I like Shedeur, may the best quarterback start. That's how I feel. Greg, and you know better than me, but I'm thinking if they have a top tier defense. Mm-hmm. They've improved. Kenshawn Junkins, the rookie, was great last year as a running back. They obviously got Jerry Jeudy. They added 2 top flight receivers, Casey Concepcion, Denzel Boston in the draft.
Yep.
Like,
if
you are in training camp and practice every day, and Deshaun Watson is clearly better, I just think you can't say to the rest of your team, we're going to go out there with Shedeur or whoever it might be. When Deshaun looks much better, it's just not fair to the players. How can you ask them to go out there and give it their all to win when we're not playing our best quarterback for various reasons? Look, people will say the stuff, we know what happened with him. Obviously, none of us like what happened with that situation. I think it also messed him up mentally. He's now 4 years removed from that. Maybe he's in a better place. He's only 30 years old. And so I know he's had surgeries and Achilles and all that. But if he looks like the guy, I'd put him out there. And I know that, what if he plays really well? Then this is the last year of his deal. Would you have to extend? That'd be a good problem to have if I'm the Browns. And I would deal with that when I had to deal with it. But for now, I'm like, let's put the best quarterback in there. If it's Shedeur, fine. But if it's Deshaun, I might as well play him.
Look, this isn't surprising to me when you think about just him being a veteran guy, him being Deshaun Watson. He's going to have an advantage. Yes, they're getting the same start, but this is the second offense in less than a year that Shedeur's had to learn. There was reports that he kind of struggled picking up the offense last year. And so naturally, because Deshaun Watson has played for years, there's a learning curve that he doesn't have to go through in terms of protection, being able to ID blitzes and picking things up.
That's all coming to a head in voluntary
camp
for a few days?
When you're sitting in those meetings and you're being asked those questions and you can just roll them off, like Deshaun's going to have every answer to every test right now. It's not even – so this isn't surprising. What will be impressive is – because Mary Kay's is like, let them cook. We haven't seen Deshaun Watson cook since being a Texan.
I mean, in 6 years.
And so I don't know.
You don't think he's still? And I don't know if he hasn't.
I think he's
I'm
terrible.
just saying he's been terrible. Has he staying terrible?
I'm talking about it purely as I'm keeping this totally on the field. I think just as a quarterback, he's terrible.
Geno was terrible at one point. Sam Darnold was terrible at one point.
It was not. Hold on. I think we are. If Shedeur Sanders cannot beat out Deshaun Watson, even in year 2, it is a stinging indictment on wherever Shedeur is going to be as a pro. I'm not as high on Shedeur as you are, Brew, but I did not expect him to lose a fair head-up competition to Deshaun Watson.
Okay. Listen, everyone. What Greg Jennings said is absolutely 1,000% correct. I genuinely don't get why people downplay the edge that a seasoned veteran brings to the table. This is something I pretty much only see the media and fans dismissing. No actual player does that, and that's exactly why Greg is the only one speaking the real truth here. Because that's just how it works. And this is what I kept saying all last year when we were discussing Shedeur Sanders. I said that even a player like Kenny Pickett at this stage has a bigger advantage, a higher probability of winning the starting job over Shedeur. Not because Kenny Pickett is some amazing quarterback or because he's so vastly superior to Shedeur as a talent. No. It's because Kenny understands how to play NFL football better than Shedeur right now. He's a veteran. He's got more mileage. He's played for multiple organizations. He's learned different offensive systems. He's worked under different head coaches. The experience truly matters. And we had the absolute best front row seat to that reality last year with several quarterbacks. Whether it was Kirk Cousins stepping in with the Falcons or Phillip Rivers jumping in with the Colts. You could see immediately, right away, what experience brings to the table. Aaron Rodgers is a shadow of his former self. I just randomly watched some highlights that popped up in my algorithm, footage of Aaron from like 8 years ago. A long time ago. It wasn't even from his later Packers years. And I'm just sitting there like, oh my god, what this guy was able to do back then is unbelievable. And now he's a shell of what he once was, yet he still runs an offense at an elite level, at the absolute highest standard. Can he still do everything? Can he make every single throw? Can he scramble? No. But being a veteran in that operational sense is a massive, massive, massive advantage. It's crucial to being great in the NFL. And it's something that, simply because of Shedeur's lack of experience, he does not possess at this moment. So even if Deshaun beats him out for the job, and people say, well, this is a bad sign for Shedeur, the answer is yes and no. On one hand, it's like, okay, you're not good enough yet to even make it a 50-50 competition. Because if it were truly 50-50, you'd go with Shedeur, since you expect him to be your franchise quarterback for the future. But if Deshaun is clearly the better quarterback right now, then it means you couldn't even make it a difficult decision. That's something worth noting, but it's not the entire picture that Nick is trying to paint as the whole story. But the other thing is this, we saw how excellent Deshaun Watson was in the past. Now, I know it's been ages since he's done anything. I get that. And I'm not talking about any of the off-field stuff either. I'm strictly talking about on-field performance. And I know he's been injured, this and that, but guess what? Lots of players have been injured. That's the NFL. All. These quarterbacks are tearing their Achilles, their ACLs, their MCLs. So it's like, they've all dealt with it. Every single one of them. And if this current roster is significantly better than the rosters he had before, and if this new head coach is a lot better than the previous head coach, then it shouldn't be a surprise that Deshaun Watson could find success in this system and have a really strong comeback. That wouldn't be shocking at all. The real question will be, can he actually get the job done when everything is running at full speed on an actual football field? Right? That's the biggest question, the main thing we need answered. Because it makes sense at this stage of the NFL, this time around, he's the number one option. That actually follows logically from everything we should all understand about what it means to be an experienced veteran quarterback going up against a young, up-and-coming quarterback. Now, what this does show, though, is that Shedeur is not inevitable in that sense. Right? It's not as if the moment he steps onto the field, he clearly demonstrates, I'm him. I've arrived. That lack of inevitability does mean something to a certain degree. But at the same time, I still think there's a lot more nuance that needs to be taken into consideration when having this discussion. To me, it makes perfect sense that Deshaun Watson has emerged with an edge over Shedeur. It's something to factor in when evaluating Shedeur. But like I said, it makes sense. What will really be interesting is once they're actually playing real games. Let's say Deshaun Watson does end up as the starter. The key question becomes, is Shedeur struggling so much to grasp everything that even if Deshaun isn't fully there physically, the coaching staff still feels more comfortable rolling with Deshaun? That's when things get complicated. That's why there are still more questions that need answering. I know a lot of Shedeur fans are going to jump in and say this isn't fair, this and that, and I get it. But that's what makes sports awesome. It's the ultimate equalizer. The better players play. We can do the whole song and dance about first-round picks getting more opportunities, or if you get paid a certain amount, all of that is true. But at the end of the day, if you can ball, you can ball. If you're better, you're better. Some of those other situations that people always highlight can only carry you so far. And especially if you're clearly better, obviously better. Let's say you pay a wide receiver $40 million and there's another wide receiver jetting $40 million and there's another wide receiver jetting $10 million, but that $10 million guy is clearly better, 10010 million guy is clearly better, 10040 million receiver a lot more chances, a lot more leeway? Absolutely. Will they work overtime to try to make it work with him? For sure. But if that 10 million wide receiver is clearly better, he will find his way to Thitopov. 10 million wide receiver is clearly better, he will find his way to Thitopov. Earth 40 million receiver. That's just how it works. It might not happen instantly, might not be immediate, might not happen overnight, but it will happen. And it'll happen fast depending on how clear the gap is. If it's 50-50, hovering right around even, then maybe not. But if it's clear, yeah, no, he's undeniably better, well, then that's the way it goes. That's absolutely how this works in sports. No question. So, yeah. It's going to be fascinating to see how this all unfolds. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you all think about the Cleveland Browns, Deshaun Watson, Shedeur Sanders? How is this news landing with you? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get into some discussions. Let's get into some debates, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you be part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing that. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really does help with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.